everybody, and welcome again to Nerd of the Third Power, your one-stop shop for all things nerdy and awesome. I'm your host, Master of Ceremonies, Dr. Gonzo. With me, as always, in this epic quest of awesomeness is our resident anime gods, the Cat. Cat, how are you doing?
I am alive, which is good. I had a really long week last week, and I lived. And I felt like texting everybody going with that "I lived, bitch" meme. just so I could tell everybody that I made it through. It was a really hard week of work last week, and I don't have to do it again for another year, so I feel like I could breathe. I'm going to take a vacation. I haven't had a vacation in like 2 years, but I'm going to take some time off. It's going to be great. So I'm good.
Bold of you to assume there's going to be a next year.
It's true. It's true. The year ends right at midnight. This 2020 ends and 2021 begins, but no. 2020 will just continue forever.
Okay, and Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Staying busy as always. More busy than I have been in a while, so it's pretty nice. Playing some video games, watch some anime for a change, so it's been kind of pleasant.
All right, we got a fun show for you guys this week. Tonight we are talking about Super Mario. It is this year marks the 35th anniversary of the original Super Mario Brothers. So we're going to talk about our favorite Nintendo plumber and his history and his impact on the game industry and game culture. So I've been really looking forward to this topic because I'm a huge Nintendo mark. So yeah, this is going to be right up my alley. But of course there is procedure to follow, so we're going to begin as always with Ask a Geek. And our first question here comes from Tyler, who also sent us a response for our Comfort Media show, but he was a little late to get his stuff read on the show. So as a consolation prize, we're going to read his question first this week. And this question is to me, and it is, what is the biggest regret purchase that I have made? I'm going to assume that you're talking about my game collection. I don't really have a lot of regret purchases. Because most stuff because if I buy something for my collection, I actually want it. There is one item though that I kind of kick myself for, and that's my copy of Duke Nukem Forever for the Xbox 360. I think I mentioned this on the show before, and the only reason I kick myself about that is because I bought it at day one retail price. When like 2 months later, if I just waited a couple months, I could have gotten it out of the Walmart bargain bin for like $10. But no, I bought it at first day retail, and I've got the trucker's hat that they gave out on release day to prove it. So that's the only real regret purchase that I have in my collection, and not so much for the fact that I have it, but the fact that I paid so damn much for it. If I just waited a bit, I could have saved myself like $50. Okay, and let's see here. All right, next question here. This one comes. This is funny. It's from Mike, and it goes to Mike.
Yay!
And his question is what is the best con experience that you've ever had?
The best con experience I ever had, I was actually looking back through a lot of old kind of memories recently, and it was a MagFest I attended. I want to say it was 2012 or 2013. I can't remember that, what year it was specifically, but the thing that sticks out the most to me, it was a concert-focused one for me. I was doing a bunch of panels at the same time, too. But I saw the Proto Men, and they did a back-to-back of Acts 1 and 2, and then they played Journey Separate Ways, Princes of the Universe, which literally moved me to tears. I then hung out in the jam space almost the entire weekend, and then I saw the Megas perform, which is one of my all-time favorite bands. I still listen to them to this very day weekly, and I had the best seats in the house because I was limited mobility then too, because I busted my knee the summer beforehand, and I just had this incredibly moving musical experience. Plus, I got to hang out with James Rolfe, the Angry Video Game Nerd, a bunch of other content contributors from various different kind of websites. I met a lot of fans. Another good highlight for me would be Con Bravo 2012, where I played with D20 Live. I got to hang out with Linkara, Spoonie, and Rue from Clan of the Grey Wolf, and we played Dungeons and Dragons. We kicked the shit out of a black dragon, and it was awesome. And it was something amazing to have that entire room do the Daniel Bryan yes chant as we beat the crap out of the dragon. So that's definitely a con memory that sticks out for me.
Okay. And Kat, I'm going to open this one up to you too, because you work, live, and breathe conventions. So what's your favorite con experience?
Gosh, okay. I probably have. When you asked Mike this question, I thought of two things simultaneously for myself. So I'd say the first, it must have happened, oh my god, so long ago, before I started working conventions. God, this must have been in 2001 or 2002. That's how long ago this story takes place, my guys. Oh, it's bad. Me and some of my friends were doing cosplay at Otakon of the Jupongatana, which are a group of the bad guys in the second season of Rurouni Kenshin. And the leader of the Jupongatana is this guy named Shishio. And we got stopped for some pictures, and somebody said, "Hey, there's a Shishio here. You should go find him." And we were like, "Holy shit, that's great!" So over the course of the weekend, we managed to collect like every person at the con, because that's a huge convention. Every person there who was dressed as a member of the Jupongatana, we befriended and hung out with the entire weekend. And they were complete strangers that we didn't know. So we found somebody who was cosplaying as Sojiro, and we hung out with her. And then we found our Shishio, and we were like holding up signs saying like desperately searching for Shishio, like having people like tell us where he was at. And when we saw this guy who was like in this great cosplay, he saw us and screamed and ran up and hugged us, and we had a great time. We hung out for the rest of the weekend, and then it turned out that this guy worked at Suncoast Video, like the Suncoast that we all went to all the time. And so we became really, really good friends with all of these people.
Now, for you younglings who don't know what she's referring to, Suncoast used to be a store where you could go and buy movies. And it was one of the only places that had anime for the longest time.
Yeah, and they were definitely one of the only places outside of, like, an actual comic book shop that had, like, anime merchandise. So, before your FYEs and your, God, wherever you buy shit now. Yeah, so it was like just this really treasured memory, because it was, and I was still pretty young, obviously, when this happened. Like, my friends and I were in high school. We were like juniors in high school when this happened. So it was just really special it's what makes, it's my favorite part about cosplay, is finding other people in costumes from your same show and becoming friends with them because you're bonding over this one thing. And it was just amazing, and we made really good long-term friendships out of that. The second best con memory I have, and I do have a lot, but this is indeed from working convention. There is an actress who I will not name, who I have been a fan of for basically since I was like 13. And a few years back, I actually got to be her handler at a convention. And I was trying not to freak out the whole time because I was just such a fan. And we ended up drinking in the green room because that's what you do. And she was talking about something. And then, like, apropos of nothing, she looked me up and down and said, "You have a nice rack. How do you do that?"
What?
And I've never been, like, I've been hit on by actors, but I've never been hit on by an actress at the con. And it was just like a woman complimenting another woman and, like, wanting to talk about, like, woman stuff. But it was like, because this was coming from one of my idols, I was just like, oh my god, how do I begin to answer this? And, like, it's just one of the funniest things, like, the most uncanny thing that's happened to me at a convention is like, wow, this person who I've idolized since I was 13 just told me that I have a nice rack. And then was, like, asking me what kind of bras do I wear to get the right everything going on. And strange. And just like I said, it was uncanny, and I treasure that memory because I have been hit on at cons, I have been inappropriately hit on at cons, and I've never had anyone just compliment me like that. And it was so nice and refreshing, but coming from somebody who I've loved forever, and it was just so strange and funny. Anyway, like, I'm crying laughing right now just thinking about it.
Okay. All right,
that's a quote you should put on your LinkedIn.
So, you have a nice rack. Get that on a shirt.
Under skills.
Ready. Okay, next question here comes from Peter, and this one is for me. And his question is: what is something that you never had to think about before you started game collecting? That would be storage space. So the thing I understand is that for the longest time, because I lived, but before I lived in the house that I'm in now, I lived in a really small apartment, so I didn't have space to keep all my collection out. So, I had most of it packed up. But then when I moved into this house, I wanted to have, I wanted to have my whole collection out so I could, have it out to play and have it on display. And I realized very quickly that game collection takes up a lot of shelf space. So I very quickly filled up all of the bookshelves that I had. So it's kind of funny. The thing that the stuff that I've been shopping for right now for my collection isn't actually games or swag or consoles. It's furniture. It's bookshelves. So I've been like scouring, Craigslist ads or, anywhere I can find where I can get decently sized and, well-made bookshelves, to hold my collection. There's actually a girl that I've been going out with, who works in the law office that's getting ready to go 100% remote. So, when she told me that, her office is looking to sell furniture, I was like, you got any bookshelves? You looking to sell any bookshelves? I swear I'm not using you to get at your furniture. So, storage space is definitely something that you don't really think about until it becomes an issue. But then when it becomes an issue, it's kind of like, how do I solve this? Another thing that I've been doing is it's gotten to the point where I'm on a first name basis with the guy who runs the wood cutting machine at my local Home Depot. Is I'll go and I'll get like these wooden blocks cut to make basically as shelf inserts so I can double up. So like instead of just having like one row, like for example my PS1 collection, instead of having them on just like one row, I'll make these like wood block inserts I can stick on shelves. Have one row on top of the block and then the second row in front of it. So that's definitely something that not a lot of people think about going into collecting is where the hell are you going to put this? How the hell are you going to display it? So like just looking around my living room right now, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bookshelves in my living room, and all of them are full of games. So, and I maybe had 3 of those when I moved into this house. So that tells you how much my collection has grown in the last year. I have a problem. This is why I need to not have money. All right. But anyway, that is all the Ask a Geek questions that we have for this week. Thank you as always for sending them in. As always, you can send them to us through the email at drgonzo@nerdofthethirdpower.com. We love getting your questions, love reading them on the air, so go ahead and get your questions in, and you just might get yours read on the show. And with that, we're going to jump right into the meat of this show, which is our discussion topic on Super Mario Brothers. This year, on September 13th, marks the 35th anniversary of the release of Super Mario Brothers on the Nintendo Famicom, known to us in the NES as the Nintendo Entertainment System. So we thought that it would be a fun topic to talk about sort of the history of Mario and his impact on the game industry and game culture, and some special memories that we associate with Nintendo's favorite plumber. So, of course, we've got, a little bit of history. So, of course, anyone who's even remotely into game history knows Mario was created by Shigeru Miyamoto. He first appeared in 1981 in the arcade game Donkey Kong. And he went on to basically become the Mickey Mouse of video games. So, let's just start for a bit. Let's just start with the obvious. So, Mike, what was your first exposure to Mario?
Okay, so I first got my Nintendo in the Christmas of 1985. And one of my first games, I had the original Mario because it was the pack-in title. I had that and Duck Hunt, Rad Racer, and Lode Runner. And it was one of the games I played for the longest time. I wasn't particularly great at it. I didn't beat it until like 1988 or 1989. But my grandmother, who raised me, I think she was like 60 at the time, could kick my ass at it. She had amazing Mario skills. She could run through levels 1 to 8, and she could speed run the game in about 40 minutes or so. So it was really kind of something to watch her play it. The original Mario very much took off me. It very much ingrained my love of video games, especially when you got some of the kind of tie-in media where you get the Super Mario Brothers Super Show with Captain Lou Albino, and I think 88, I think it was, when Super Mario Brothers 2 came out. Yeah, it's just been one of those things that has always been with me. I remember begging my parents for Mario action figures, to which none have really existed for a long time, although in the last like 10 years, yeah, there's the World of Nintendo figures. Figma, I think, makes them too. And he's always been there, although I've been out of Mario stuff, truthfully, for the last 10 years. I really haven't cared, although I did buy a Mario game last year. I did buy the Wii U port on the Switch, and I've been playing through that and having a lot of fun. So I've got a lot more memories, but I'd rather you take the ball from here, and then we'll kind of, because I know a lot about the tie-in media.
So this is probably going to sound cliche, but my first Mario was actually Super Mario Brothers was actually the very first video game I ever played. I've told this story before on the show, but you know, when I was like 3-4 years old, my cousin Angela lived with us while she was going to college, and she had a television and a Nintendo. And you know, my father, being a teacher, believed that, you know, a television didn't belong in a student's room, but you know, he didn't know where else to put, you know, the video game system. So, you know, he saw video games as toys, and where do you keep toys? You know, in the child's room. So, you know, here I am, 4 years old, playing Super Mario Brothers. Not very good at it, but it's, you know, absolutely loving it. And, you know, I basically grew up, you know, with Mario. So Mario came out September 13th, 1985. Mario Brothers came out September 13th, 1985. I was born September 30th, 1986. So in a very real way, you know, I grew up alongside Mario, and it's because of Mario and his games that I became the gamer that I am. And you know, some of my most formative experiences with gaming were on Mario games. The very first RPG I ever played was Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. It's one of my favorite games ever. You know, every Nintendo system I buy, I always buy the Mario game with it. And I've loved just about every single one I played. Maybe not so much Super Mario Sunshine, but you know, okay, not everything's perfect. You know, and I was, you know, obsessed with Mario for the longest time as I was coming up. There's actually a picture that that my mother has of me in 5th grade for Halloween. I was Super Mario, you know, which was the easiest costume I ever assembled. I just wore a red turtleneck shirt, pair of you know, Oshkosh suspenders, and you know, my mom made me Mario's cap, and I, you know, had a little, you know, black cardboard mustache that I, you know, glued onto my upper lip. Should not have used crazy glue. Cannot grow a real mustache to this day because of that. So, but yeah, I said was playing Mario games was just such a formative experience for me, and it's no exaggeration to say that if it hadn't been for Super Mario Brothers, I would not be a gamer. And it's fascinating to see how the character has endured basically unchanged since 1985. You know, so many characters, not just in video game, but in media in general, you know, they wind up getting redesigned or reimagined every few years. But Mario has stayed pretty constantly the same throughout, you know, the 35 plus years of his life. You know, and it's really fascinating to me. And this is something that me and Skyblaze discussed when we did our Sonic anniversary episode. How malleable the character is. That you could take Mario and put him in just about any kind of scenario or situation and make it make sense. Mario's been, he's a superhero. He's also been in RPG titles. He's had successful sports games, racing games. There's really very little that you can't do with the character. And like Mike mentioned, that even extends to tie-in media. So, Mike, let's talk a little bit about some of the tie-in stuff that Mario's done over the years.
As I was mentioning previously, there was the Super Mario Brothers Super Show with Captain Lou Albino, who was a wrestler at the time. Actually, I was watching this on Amazon Prime a few weeks ago, where they randomly run into WWE's Sergeant Slaughter, who just comes to their house and yells at them. Inspector Gadget shows up at one point too. They go to Rapland because reasons. It's an incredibly weird show. It ran for like 65-ish. I think it was like 2 seasons. They also had another one, which was the New Adventures of Super Mario Brothers 3, which then became the Adventures of Super Mario World and Captain N the Game Master. Which another pseudo tie-in. There was Captain N the Game Master. There was always talk they were going to bring in Mario, but for some reason they never could. They could talk around shit like warp zones and stuff like that, but there never was, here's Mario or here's the Mushroom Kingdom. So Mario got his own dedicated cartoon. I love those cartoons. I was an NBC Saturday morning kid for so long because they got the license to them. The sound effects are authentic. The voices sound approximately what I would assume they would. This is before Charles Martinet or whatever his name is would take over in like 96, I think. And it was just tremendously neat. Another early memory that I have is when Mario Brothers 3 launched alongside The Wizard, McDonald's had Happy Meal toys. And I remember there was the Mario Brothers 3 Happy Meal, and there was like this Koopa Troopa.
I still have some of those toys.
Yeah, like those are cool.
I have the Goomba that you press down on him and he do a backflip, and then I also have the suction cup Tanuki Mario toy.
Yeah,
the spring on that one is broken. I would love to get a complete set of those.
I used to have those. They were sweet.
And actually, speaking of Happy Meal toys, a couple years ago, McDonald's actually did another Mario tie-in with their Happy Meal toys, and it came out in England like about 6 months or so before they did it in the U.S. So I sent a message over to Skyblaze. Was like, these toys are coming out in Europe. I absolutely need to get a set. What do we got to do to make this happen? So Skyblaze and Tony actually, for the next like month or so, went to McDonald's and got me a full set of those Happy Meal toys. So which I have on display on my shelving.
That is actually pretty awesome. I mean, like, the toy and ties, when they're done well, they look like the characters, they feel authentic. I mean, one of my favorite ones was the World of Nintendo ones. I think that's the line. Don't quote me on it. But I saw them in stores recently, and I bought them for one of my friend's kids. And I think it's Mario in his ice outfit. There's a Mario Penguin one, which I think is from like New Super Mario 2 or something. The Tanuki suit toy I've seen is remarkable. I've seen a lot of really cool stuffed animals. I know Build-A-Bear has done one. There's been some really neat things. Like, I think there was even in the Nintendo Power comics, I think Mario made an appearance. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Oh, there was a whole series of Super Mario comics in Nintendo Power. That was their main comic offering for several years, and you can actually buy a collection of those comics on Amazon for I think like $15. But yeah, I know exactly the ones you're talking about. The one that stands out to me is this one. I remember exactly which issue it was in. It was in the Mega Man X issue, and I remember that because I still had that issue. The comic was Princess Toadstool's birthday. She wasn't called Peach in the U.S. yet. It was Princess Toadstool's birthday, and she wanted this stuffed Samus plushie. and Mario and Wario, who were both competing for her affections, were basically fighting each other to buy this doll. So in the end, they wind up going. They both wind up going to the store, and the clerk was like, "Oh, the guy with the mustache came and already bought it." And Mario and Wario each thought that the other had bought the last doll, so they wind up buying this like Jack in the Box toy that they're going to swap out for the doll at the party. So it looks like the other one bought this Jack in the Box to scare Peach, and it turns out neither one of them bought the doll. It was Luigi who got the doll. So.
That just kind of made me remember something. Super Mario Brothers, at least in Canada, I don't remember a whole lot of commercials, but I'm 99% sure I'm part of the reason why Yoshi's Island's commercials were pulled for a while. Do you remember the commercial? Yeah, there was a commercial where it showed...
you talking about the Mr. Creosote send up?
I don't know. It's where the fat guy eats a bunch of shit and then explodes.
Yeah, that's a play on the Mr. Creosote sketch from Monty Python. I love that commercial.
Yeah, so I saw this. I was probably 15 at the time, and I was having breakfast, watching something on TV, and I saw it, and I'm thinking, yep, well, that's enough of that. And I remember calling Nintendo's customer service line and just saying, dude, this is the grossest thing I've ever seen on a Saturday morning. And it just, there was something about the sound design in that commercial that just, it triggered me, for lack of a better description. Just the way that the SpaghettiOs hit the wall, it just sounded so visceral. I was like, yep, that's gross. But yeah, there was like so many neat tie-in media. And for a long time, we didn't get anything past those two cartoon series for like a really, really long time. Like we've never had a true follow-up to anything. I know Japan has had like a movie that was like
Japan had an OVA movie. There was like an anime series that aired on TV where it was like Mario characters acting out like Japanese fairy tales. One of which at one point, and I actually posted a picture of this on Facebook. At one point, Mario's running around with an assault rifle. It's kind of fucked up, but like. I kind of posted on the Facebook, like, hey, anyone remember the time Mario was rolling around with a gat? They've had manga, which there's a collection of those being released soon that I have on pre-order. There's been several comic book series. Like speaking of high-end media, I remember the Nintendo comic system from the late '80s and early '90s that had like a bunch of Super Mario stories and Legend of Zelda and Captain N. But yeah, but it's weird that that you mentioned that in the US we didn't get a whole lot of that extra tie-in media, especially when you consider that for a while there were actually surveys done, and the studies found that more people recognized Super Mario than they did Mickey Mouse. Like, can you even begin to comprehend how huge a presence you must have in popular culture to outdo the fucking mouse?
Well, yeah. I mean, like, people recognize Mario in places of the world you wouldn't think about that. It's just one of those cultural icons that just blew up, which is phenomenal. And Nintendo is so synonymous with video games. People just call a video game system, oh, you want Nintendo, right? The one that plays Mario? And it doesn't matter whether you're talking about Mario or Sonic or whatever.
Yeah, because like when we were kids, it wasn't, oh, I'm going to go play video games. It's, oh, I'm going to go play Nintendo.
Yeah.
And like Mario was a huge factor in that. And I think that really has to do with when you really take apart Mario games, especially the original Super Mario Brothers, they're so simply designed, but everything about them is polished to such a mirror sheen that and so much of the stuff that we just take for granted today. Like, a lot of people forget that Super Mario Brothers was the very first game ever to have smooth screen scrolling. Previous side-scrolling platformers like Pitfall, you would move from one side of the screen to the other, and then the screen would have to just completely change. But Mario Brothers was the very first one to have smooth scrolling screens. And it's something that today we don't even think about, but it's like, stuff like that. There was nothing like Super Mario Brothers when it first came out. Games were very stiff and awkward, and Here Comes Super Mario Bros., where everything is just like smooth as butter. You know, and we take all of that so much for granted today, but it's like everything about the original Super Mario Brothers was just had so much polish and was so refined. I mean, it really was a diamond in the rough.
It's definitely not a diamond in the rough, and this has been a major factor as to why we haven't seen one since, but they probably will if they're smart. The Super Mario Brothers movie, when this came out, Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo playing Mario, and Luigi Mario. God, I hate that. And Dennis Hopper as King Koopa. Good casting, though. And Samantha Mathis as what the hell was her name in that? It wasn't Toadstool.
It was Daisy. It was Daisy. It would just more believable for someone living in New York to have the name Daisy. B, Super Mario Land had just come out on the Game Boy.
Yes, because they really want to promote the hell out of that. So I remember seeing this in theaters.
But I will maintain until my dying day that if you removed the Super Mario Brothers branding, that's actually a good movie.
Yeah, like, it's an interesting cyberpunk movie. I mean, when you really break it down, it's not that bad. I mean, I enjoy it because it is a different take on it. I also love Fisher Stevens in that movie because that guy is an underappreciated character actor.
And who was he in that movie?
He was one of, I think he was Iggy. He was one of King Koopa's goons. He was like one of the really stupid ones, and then he pitches the Mario Brothers movie to the Nintendo executives at the end of it. He's just great. He plays the hacker, the Plague in the movie Hackers, if that helps you kind of figure out who I'm kind of talking about.
That does not, because I've never seen Hackers.
Oh my god, 90s cheese.
Surprise, a guy who works in cybersecurity has never seen a movie called Hackers.
Oh, it's delicious. But anyway, I saw this movie in theaters. I was crushed. I'm like, where's everything that I love? Although, that being said, the shoes, which they wanted to emulate the boots in Mario Brothers 3 are really cool. The bomb.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, people go like, "Oh, there's absolutely nothing from the games in the film," and from a certain point of view, that's true. But it's also surprising how much actually is in there. Like, every time I watch the movie, I catch some new things. Like, oh god, that's a reference to this thing. Like, the one that I caught on the last film was, do you remember that scene where in the desert and they've got to sneak past these guys who are wearing gas masks?
Yeah.
Those are snippets.
That's clever.
Yeah, I never caught that until I just randomly heard them referred to as snippets in the movie. I was like, oh shit! Those are snippets? I never would have thought of that.
Cool, and that's the power of it.
And apparently there's Shy Guys in there somewhere. I haven't been able to spot that reference. And then there's apparently like, if you look at some of the signage when they're in the Koopa City, there's stuff that references like like Lakitu and Spinies, and it's like there's a lot of stuff in there if you know what to look for, but like it's all stuff that's like off the beaten path. But yeah, no, the main story is just absolutely bonkers.
It's real. I'm honestly surprised that Nintendo has never taken a risk, especially recently, with seeing how powerful the Switch is sold, and just said, hey, let's work with DreamWorks, for example, or Pixar, work with Disney, or Universal, or whoever the hell else they've got money to, and just make an animated movie. Just go for it.
How did you not know this? Because Illumination is making a Super Mario Brothers movie.
I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen any pre-production stuff. I haven't seen any casting.
Have you just not been paying attention? Because that's been making the news rounds for a couple years now that Nintendo had partnered up with Illumination. Now, granted, everything's probably stalled because of the whole COVID-19 thing, but no.
When was the last time you heard something solid come out about it?
Like 6 months ago.
Okay, what was the last solid thing that came out about it?
That production was still planned.
that doesn't mean anything in industry terms, because that might mean we may not see it for another 4 or 5 years. That's what I mean. I'm surprised they didn't see. I'm surprised things haven't been fast tracked, because you look how quickly certain other properties can be turned around. I'm just kind of surprised we haven't seen it sooner.
Well, Nintendo has a lot.
They're shy of Hollywood.
Has been given a lot of oversight on this, and I think that also is one of the things that has contributed to Mario's endurance in the gaming sphere, is that Nintendo has been very careful to shepherd Mario and make sure that things don't really go off the rails with them. Like I mentioned, Super Mario RPG was one of my favorite games ever, and there's a video I watched. I can't remember who it was by, but he was talking about how when Square first made the pitch to Nintendo to make an Mario RPG, they showed Shigeru Miyamoto this drawing of Mario on a horse carrying a sword, and Miyamoto was like, "No, Mario wouldn't carry a sword. Or ride a horse. He'd be riding Yoshi, and he'd be carrying a hammer." And it's like that's the level of the Mickey Mouse analogy is actually pretty appropriate, because it's that same level of control and wanting to make sure that if you're going to do something with the character, you're going to do it right and keep the spirit of the character. And it's kind of those things, like you can look at just about any Mario game that's been released, and it could be something as random as Mario Party or Mario Tennis or Mario Golf, but you look at it and it still feels like a Mario game. Like when Mario RPG came out, I mean, like I said, Mario had been just only in side-scrolling platformers, Mario Kart, and the odd Nintendo sports games up at that point. And while Mario RPG certainly had a little bit of a darker story to it than your typical Mario fare at the time, it ultimately still felt like a Mario title first and foremost. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, totally.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was about to say, one of the things, I'm honestly surprised we've never gotten a remaster of the original Mario RPG, and I'd love to know why that is.
Well, a lot of that has to do with the fact that it was co-developed by Square, and basically the issue is that any character or scenario from that game that did not originate from the pre-existing Mario franchise, Square owns the rights to. So characters like Geno, Smithy, the big villain, pretty much all of the enemies and bosses from that game that weren't original Mario characters, Square owns the rights to. So in order for them to build off of that, Square would need to either hand over the rights or get involved in developing the game. But because of the whole Nintendo Square split in 1996 or 7, because originally Square had basically an exclusivity contract with Nintendo to publish their games on Nintendo platforms. But then when Nintendo decided to stick with cartridges for the N64, Square was like, "No, we can't make the kind of games we want with the restrictions of cartridges. We're moving over to PlayStation." And any potential Mario RPG sequel wound up basically becoming impossible at that point, because Square didn't want to publish games on Nintendo platforms. Paper Mario was originally supposed to be Super Mario RPG 2, until it wound up becoming so different from the previous game that they just decided to make it its own franchise. So, yeah. But
did not know.
But as far as a direct sequel to Super Mario RPG, which I would also love to see, we're probably not gonna see that again. So
and it's unfortunate, because there's characters that I know from Super Mario RPG like Mallow and Geno, and I guarantee you put those characters in like Smash Brothers, people would go apeshit for that. But we've been asking for years, it's not going to happen.
Oh, they did. Well, never say never, because remember, we didn't think Cloud or Snake were going to wind up in Smash Brothers, and look where we are now.
Or Sonic, Sonic. So yeah, I guess never say never. I mean, if I had to pick, I'd pick Geno rather than Mallow, but
But people have gone apeshit when they released the Geno Mii Fighter costume for Smash Brothers on the Wii U and 3DS. Oh, the fan base went nuts.
which, Nintendo, do you like money? Yeah, I mean, to kind of look at just how well these games have done over the years, and as you mentioned, they've been done different things like RPGs. I remember when Mario Kart tournaments were a huge thing. I remember when the N64 had the 4-player split screen, and that was a revolutionary thing at the time. I mean, just having it was just built into the console. You didn't need anything extra. Hell, there were people in my college back in 2006 having Mario Kart parties and even Mario Party parties in their dorms. Like, it's such a fun franchise that reaches across age ranges. Like, there's a kid that I know. The kid's like 9 or 10. The kid is a whiz at all things Mario. The kid kicks the shit out of me. And the last Mario game that I beat, it took me like 20 hours. He did it in like 12. That was like Luigi's Mansion. I'm thinking, well, guess I suck. I just can't keep up with you damn kids. It's just, I love the variety that we have. One of the games I used to play with an old girlfriend of mine was Mario Tennis. And tennis to me is friggin' boring. But Mario made it exciting and accessible. There was just something about having those characters in that environment that worked. Even Super Mario Strikers, the soccer game, didn't expect that to be fun. And then the game that will end friendships, Mario Party. Because it's always some son of a bitch who steals the one star that you need to win. My God, I had so much fun. The last one I had a lot of fun with was Mario Party. It was 6 or 7 on the GameCube, and there was one game where you have to kill a Pokey with a hammer or something. And I remember the strategy between me and a guy that I'm no longer friends with. We'd put the controller down on a table, and we just rub our knuckles over it until they were virtually raw and bloody. We wanted to win that badly. Like, Mario gives you some damn competition. I was so surprised. And then seeing Mario in a fighting game when Smash Brothers came out on the original N64, never would have thought I'd see the day I'd see Mario beating the shit out of Pikachu. Never would have fathomed that day in my life. And honestly, if there was a Mario game that has really taken me in, there are 2 that I can think of in the last probably 15 years. The Smash Brothers franchise, for sure. I don't main Mario. I keep him as he's in my top probably 5 fighters that I'm good with. And probably the Mario Kart franchise. I've played almost every single one except for the one on the Game Boy Advance. The one on the Wii, the one on the Switch rather, which has like tracks from like every single one, is really, really good. And I think it's still one of the best-selling Switch titles right now.
Excuse me, no, it is the best-selling Switch title.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, I bought it for my wife for Christmas last year.
Although Animal Crossing is looking like it's going to dethrone it, because it's just a couple million behind Mario Kart 8's lifetime sales, but that's a discussion for a different table. But yeah, no, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe right now is the best-selling Switch title.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so happy to see Mario still endure. Like, I can't think of very many Mario games that I don't like. I'm not a big fan of some of the RPG ones. Like, I don't like the Paper Mario ones, and I kind of like the Mario and Luigi Inside Story one. I kind of like that one. I really liked, what was the game? I think it was Sticker Star. I liked. I think I had fun with like that one. I think I reviewed it. I don't know. But yeah, like there's so many different varieties of things. Like, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because you would know. Is there a Mario Brothers like skateboarding game? I know there is a skateboarding minigame in Mario and Sonic at the Olympics.
I have never heard of a Mario skateboarding game.
If there was a Mario skateboard game, I'd buy that day one. If you could get the developers from the Tony Hawk franchise to do that with like Mario characters, that'd be fucking cool. But I'll have to settle for Mario and Sonic at the Tokyo Olympics, which I guess that didn't happen. The only Mario game that I have not played because I don't want to pay $80 friggin' for it is Super Mario Odyssey. And I own a Switch, and I've actually got a pretty good Switch library. I only have a couple of games physical, though, but I've been curious to pick up Odyssey. I just haven't yet. I don't know. I don't know.
Odyssey is great. It's if you like Super Mario 64, you'll like Odyssey because it really is the true successor to Mario 64.
That's the last 3D Mario game I really dug was 64, and I know. But I did like the one on, I think it was the Wii U, Super Mario 3D World with the cat suit. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
And the Super Mario, new Super Mario Bros. Like, anytime it's a side scroller, I love it. Like the one on the 3DS, like those titles were great. Which you don't hear many people talk about the 3DS title games, which is unfortunate because I think almost all those were really, really, really fun. But anyway, I'm getting off track here.
Yeah, I want to swing things back around to tie-ins for just a moment to talk about something that just came out recently that I have been really getting into, and that's the Super Mario Lego sets that have been coming out. I've been getting some of those for my collection, and I got the starter set, the little Lego Mario figure, and it's just such a neat little thing. The Mario itself is just this neat little gadget. So basically, it's got this sort of this sensor on the bottom of it that reads colors and also reads barcodes. So, and the sets are basically you build these Mario levels, and they have different expansion sets. Like you can have like Mario's house or Bowser's castle, and depending on it, the different colors of blocks are different terrain. So green is grass, red is fire, blue is water, and the sensor will actually read that, and Mario will react appropriately to what terrain he's on. And you also get like enemies like Goombas, Bowser Jr. or Koopas, and they'll have like these little barcode pieces on the top that if you set Mario on top of it, it registers it as like him bopping an enemy, and it'll make this little noise, and you'll get a coin for it. And it's just such a neat little concept. And I haven't bought a Lego set since I was like 15, but I like absolutely love these things. So I've been trying to collect those sets, and I'm really interested to see if Lego winds up doing more partnerships with Nintendo, because I'd love to see like a Lego Legend of Zelda. That'd be just absolutely awesome. But it's again, it kind of speaks to the malleability of Mario as a character and as a concept, that you can do all of these wild and wacky things with him and still make it work. So, and I think that really, along with Nintendo's very careful shepherdship of the character over the past nearly 40 years, I think that's why Mario has endured so much over the years. So, but we're kind of running short on time, so let's start wrapping things up. So let's ask the final obvious question. Mike, what is your absolute favorite Mario game?
My absolute favorite Mario game? Wow, that's tough. I'm gonna have to say it is a very close tie, and this will probably be blasphemy to somebody, but Super Mario 3 on the original NES and Mario Kart on the Switch are my two favorite Mario games. They're fun. I got good memory with them. I can play them endlessly and not get bored, and I can share them. And I'm always finding something new in each game, and the music in both of them is fantastic. So that's something fun. Although I did want to share my favorite Mario tie-in, and I just forgot about this until just now. It was a tie-in for pasta back in the early 90s. There was Super Mario Mac and Cheese. And it had
I remember those.
Yeah, it had the weirdest texture I've ever had. It was almost chewy, but not. So that's my favorite Super Mario tie-in.
Yeah, the Kraft macaroni and cheese Nintendo Mario. And then that same year, we also got Sonic the Hedgehog SpaghettiOs.
Oh, I never had those.
So, okay. My favorite Super Mario game will always and forever be the original Super Mario Brothers on the NES. That's just, it's it's one of those games where putting it in and firing up, it's like, it's like putting on an old jacket and finding out that it still fits after all these years. It's just such a fun game to play, and like I said, everything about it is just polished to a mirror shine, and I will never get tired of playing the original Super Mario Brothers. So yeah, that is my favorite Mario game of all time.
Here's a question for you before we kind of take things out of here. What's a Mario game people should try if they haven't perhaps maybe given one a shot? What's an underappreciated Mario game for you?
Underappreciated Mario game?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I'd say if it's underappreciated, but I would definitely say that that it's a game that's just worth playing in general. Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars. That's one that if anyone ever asks me what's a game that you have to have in your Super Nintendo library, I say Mario RPG, because it's just so off the wall, but it works so well. So
what I'm going to recommend, if you have an N64, because this is how I experienced it, and I didn't expect it to be as fun as it has been. Mario Tennis on the N64 was a lot of fun, and I don't think enough people talk about it, and it should be a fairly common title as far as I know. So if you're an N64 collector and you got the money, pick it up, and I think you'll have a pretty good time.
And with that is all the time that we have for Nerd of the Third Power this week. Happy birthday, Mario. It's been a great 35 years. Here's to another 35. And thank you to our listeners, as always, for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. As always, I'm Dr. Gonzo.
I'm still Birdman.
All right, we'll see you next time. Taka, play us out.